Greetings, everyone. I hope you guys are doing well. It is Friday here in Columbus, Ohio, 12:47 p.m. And as usual, as you guys can see, I am doing another question and answers of the week. All right. So if this is your first time viewing these particular videos, basically what I normally do is once a week, I go through certain questions that have been asked. I even go through older questions that I didn't have time to reply to, and I'll read them in this way. Then I'll transition over into another video where you can actually see me, and I'll show resources or just give my thoughts on whatever the question was. So it all depends on the question, but in general, I'll transition over to another video. All right, unless I'm writing something in the notepad. All right, so that is it, and here we go. I'm going to be reading the question posed by our friend Bhaskar. What is his name? Bhaskar Takuria. I hope I said your name correctly. So here we go. He says, "It is amazing to see the level you are in Somali, Moses. I particularly find it remarkable that you are such a quick learner. Does it suffice for courses like colloquial?" Okay, excuse you guys, excuse me. A cat's crying here. You hear in the background. "For a language like Somali to produce the desired results the way it has produced in you? I mean, are there other courses beside basic teaching aids like colloquial that you may be following? I mean, the intermediate and advanced levels of language learning, particularly as I could see in your Somali comments, these could not have been produced by a learner learning at a basic level." So this is the question, and I'm going to transition over into another video and give my thoughts and show some resources. All right, so to get to your question, I want to show you some resources actually here that I've been using, excuse me, for Somali over the past 8 months or so. But before I do that, I want to just start by telling you that from the beginning, um, when I started Somali, I made some videos about this before, but I start with this FLR course. Okay, I have level one. I have two levels. I have level one FLR Somali, and level two, which is not up on the website yet. Level one is there, but not level two. So basically, I started with that level one course, and I spent 2 to 3 months working through that course with a native speaker, and then I transitioned over to level two, and um, while working on level two, I decided to start doing grammar. So I have some books here that I'm going to show you. So I have the colloquial course, which you mentioned. I have the cover is missing. My daughters tore it off. They actually ripped up a couple pages. But this is the colloquial course that you mentioned. Um, when I start level two of the FLR course, um, I started using this book too, and I only use this book just for grammar. Okay, I went through this book like 3 or 4 times already, and just kind of skimming through the grammar, seeing how things work. That's all I use it for. I didn't really focus on the dialogues in the book because I was already doing the focusing on the material on level two, which are text. So that I used this book just to go through, for grammar. And then after I went to this book like 3 or 4 times, I went through this book as well. I didn't go through this book as many, as much as I did for the colloquial, but I did go through it a couple times. And again, I just focus on the grammar, just try to get, just get a feel of how things are working, because I feel that when you start learning a language, and this is just me, I don't really like to do grammar stuff, and the reason being is the language is different. Okay, Somali is a different language, and yeah, there are some similarities to Arabic, but I think that's only vocabulary. Um, the grammar is a bit similar to languages like Japanese, Korean. It is like an SOV language, but it changes as well. So it's a very different language, and there are some very irregular things that I've never seen before in any other language I've studied. So I decided to just, um, not to really get into the grammar yet. So I think having that exposure for those first 3 months, first 3 months of the level 1, and then getting into level 2, once I got to the grammar, a lot of the stuff made sense to me. A lot of stuff I've seen because again, the exposure I've had when I started learning Somali. So when I started doing the grammar, I didn't really have any difficulties. I mean, there were some peculiar things, but um, it wasn't stressful because, like I said, I had the exposure with the language already. So I did that for both colloquial and this university course. I do plan to go back eventually and go through the dialogues, but like I said, it's really not necessary at this point. My level 2 course deals with just text and conversation, so there's a lot of relevant material there that I get. Now, as far as advanced material you mentioned, because I would say level 1 starts off with the beginner material. FLR level 1 is beginner, and then once you get to level 2, it's going to you getting into like from low intermediate going to intermediate, and then these courses here are dealing with intermediate stages as well. So intermediate to upper intermediate, I would say, well, mainly intermediate, right? Now I do have advanced material, and they are authentic material, native material, and they are basically children's books. And that's what I'm working with right now. I have these 2 books. I made a review before on these, by the way. But this is the book I'm reading right now. I'm actually at the end of the book. Oh my God, this book is very good. Very good. It's bilingual text, English to Somali. I'm not going to go through it right now because, like I said, I made a review before. But this actually comes with audio as well. It's bilingual. And I found it very interesting that as I was going through, like of course I looked at the English first, and then I looked at the Somali, and I tried to match things up, and I said, wait a minute, you know, it doesn't look right. So I have this very useful dictionary. It's from it's from Somali to English only though, and this is very useful, very very useful. I'm gonna have to do a thorough review on this book, by the way, and show you why it's so useful. But I use this book, excuse me, I use this dictionary in conjunction with well, sorry, I use this book, read this book in conjunction with the dictionary, because I found that when I use this dictionary, the translations are completely different than completely different from the English. Very, very different. I mean, it's amazing. I'm gonna have to, I should make a video and show you guys what I'm talking about, but the way they translated things, totally different in Somali. They just kind of made it like a close translation. But I'm telling you, whenever you're working through text like this, make sure you pick up a dictionary. Don't always go with the English translation, because you're going to see that there's going to be a lot of different meanings. It's very interesting. But that's what I'm using. I'm working through this book, and I'm using this dictionary. After, I think I'm on a second to last story in this book, and once I finish that, I'm going to go ahead and go through it again. Okay, I'm going to go through it again without the use of that dictionary to see how much vocabulary I retain, while going through the stories. And then once I do that, I'm going to come over to this book here. This is another children's book. And they're very short stories. They're not so long. I'll show you some here. I'll just give you a sample here. I know I made a review before. I'll just let me show you. You see, this is the story right here. You see that? Well, that's the English version. The Somali is in the back. So I read this every day. Every single day. I haven't missed a day. I read these stories every single day and go through my dictionary. Okay. So as far as advanced material, that's what I'm using right now. I do have a lot of other Somali native material, like just pure Somali books, business books and stories, but I'm not going to get to those until after I finish with the children's books. and I'm actually going to buy a couple more children's books similar to this. I know of a website that sells these particular books, and I'm going to get a couple more before I start getting into them other heavy stories for adults, because these are mainly for children. So it's always good to start with children's books anyway, before getting into the other adult material. So that's really all I'm using, man. That's it. And the stuff that I post on Facebook, I talked about this before. Whenever I'm learning a language actively, I always post stuff on Facebook, okay? Because I have natives who follow me of that language, and I can get feedback, and it's more reinforcement for me when I learn something. I like to use it right away, write it down. That's all part of active study. So that's the stuff you've been seeing me do on Facebook. And a lot of that stuff is coming from the stories, the children's stories. Very, very useful vocabulary, very good context. It's just, it's excellent. And I find it very enjoyable to sit down and go through the stories with the dictionary. Despite having the English subtitles, the dictionary, the use of a dictionary is very enjoyable. And I think the main thing that makes it enjoyable is the fact that the stories are interesting. They have morals to the story. It's just very, very, they are very, very good readers. So, and I find it addictive. I go through the story and I have my dictionary and say, okay, I'm gonna go through this last line, and then I'm gonna be done for the night. And then I get to that last line and say, oh man, I want to do more. I want to do more. That's happened so much lately while going through this particular book. But yeah, this is my response. I know it was lengthy, but what else? What I want to say? Oh, mumbo jumbo here. But yeah, that's it. I have a lot more questions to answer. So probably what I'll do from next week is start making, rather than do one, I'm gonna probably have to do a couple a week, because I have a lot of questions here, and I want to try to get to everyone's question here before they pile up, pile up even more. So that is it. If you guys have any other questions, as usual, you can post them, send me a message, private message, post on Facebook. I may not get to you right away, but I will get to you eventually, because like I said, I do go back to older questions. Okay, I do. So, but yeah, that is it for this video. You guys have a great weekend, and thanks for viewing the video.